Good afternoon. Your 6A through Iron Ring and portfolio, the Iron Ring way. So before we begin, quick disclaimer. I know Game Manual 0 doesn't really have any information on portfolio or judge awards for the upcoming year, but we're pretty confident that judging and documentation is going to be pretty similar. And even if there is a massive shift, a lot of the advice we're going to give today is just how to make good documentation, irrespective of the format that is delivered. And with that, let's begin.
We're going to assume that all you guys know the FTC awards and their general focuses. We like to divide all these awards into two separate categories: engineering and striking. Engineering and outreach. And the most portfolio development is striking balance between these two content types, make sure you emphasize the strong points of each in the category.
And part of it is also just making sure you know if you're strong yet, and like making sure to emphasize the parts you want to emphasize, but not really about. And make sure you do.
And hold it away from your face, about this far. It's very hot night.
So for the engineering awards, the main goal is to show the engineering process, not just for your entire robot, but also for every individual subsystem. The main goal is to show progress, how you got from point A to point B. And the main questions you want to be thinking about are, so what are the different design elements each subsystem has? How do they change over time? What was your inspiration over time? You want to show the thought process behind every design, because then you can kind of show your ideas, and that's what you want to communicate to judges. And also, it's important to talk about every step that your robot went through, whether or not they ended up in the final robot, because you want to show mistakes you made, you want to show the lessons you learned, because robotics is about innovating and learning from the things you did. And so the idea of an engineering process is kind of abstract, but this is how we conceptualize it in a graphic. And we are no longer include this in our engineering portfolios, but in the past, this is something we include. So I'm just going to kind of walk through it. So first, you're going to figure out what problem you're trying to solve. What does the actual game want you to do? Then you're going to come up with a concept to solve that problem. You're going to design something. You're going to prototype it. You're going to see what works and what doesn't. And then you're going to go back to the problem of what you found until you get to whatever you're going to call your final result.
So before we go into the actual portfolio, we're going to go over what we did last year to kind of illustrate these points. Sorry. We're going to go quickly talk about organization. So organization is pretty important for the portfolio because judges have a limited amount of time to look through it. And so the two main goals of your organization system is to make sure the judges are able to get as much information as they can in that limited amount of time. But also when they're discussing later on about awards and just intending for them, they're able to access that information they found earlier pretty easily. So this is our organization system. You can come up here, this is what we recommend. So we use a color code system that's based on connecting each award with a different. And to further that, we have the little tabs. So we're passing around our actual portfolio from last year, and each page is a little individual tab that's colored and corresponds to a certain award. And you can further reinforce the system by using these colors and these code words on your titles. So for example, if I'm talking about my drivetrain, I could be like thinking about drivetrains and color coding that pink orange. So the judges know that we're talking about drivetrains and how we went through the process of finding the optimal one. And then to quickly note, I do want to mention that for our portfolio at least, our portfolio is actually made out of carbon fiber and TPU. So it's a carbon fiber binder with a TPU hinge that we custom made. And that's sort of kind of show how we use the same parts we use to make our robot to make our portfolio. Kind of show some creativity that way. But that's just us being a bit extra.
Okay, so before we analyze the portfolio from last season, here are a couple of baseline tips that everybody should use for their portfolio. Make sure your failed ideas and ideas that you didn't use, the ideas you didn't use, still end up in your portfolio because again, you want to show innovation through time and like all the different things, steps you went through. You want to take pictures of every single thing you did and label them and make them all detailed and organized so the judges can easily follow what you're trying to show them. Number your pages so they're easy to follow, and white space can always be your friend, especially when you're trying to make things compact and neat and nice. And the golden rule is quality is always so much more important than quantity.
So let's look at an example, and this is going to be our portfolio from last season.
So the top part, you can see our labeling system right there with the different colors. And then we are also introducing the team, which is showing the human aspect of our portfolio, because we don't just want to keep robots, we want to show a bit of ourselves in the portfolio as well. We have our goals throughout the year, because one of the things First wants to see is how like the individual team members are developing through the season. So you can indicate your goals so they can see that. The goals also indicate the role of the team member, and then this page could be overall improved if we also add the background of our team.
So now we're going to move on to when our judges get the first opportunity to really meet our robot. So there you can see that we have included our full robot CAD model. This is so judges get an opportunity to kind of see what the rest of our portfolio will be about. And they're also going to be able to see what we're calling each of our subsystems, and it kind of highlights crucial parts. Below that, we have our match play breakdown. This includes our strategy for the season. It shows that we're putting thought into what our robot is doing. And it also shows an overview of performance and the strategy choices we're thinking about that influenced our design. Then you can see we have our subsystems labeled along with our degrees of freedom. This kind of gives you like some insight into the level of complexity we're thinking about in our robot. And it also offers us a roadmap of the major parts of the robot. And you can also see the connection between one subsystem and the other with that error. And the fun fact, once again, we want to show the human aspect of our team, of our portfolio. So we include a couple of things there, like how many servos we broke in development. Not a competition, please. And then total CAD versions, things like that.
Okay, so this next page shows the robot in 2 plays. It shows the very beginning of the engineering process. Like, I'm pretty sure we do this every single like kickoff day. We go to the dojo and we start making the portfolio. So it starts the robot. So it shows the start of the engineering process. It also highlights individual early ideas, and it shows what we learned and key takeaways through the experimentation. So it's very important to show all these mistakes, as I said before, into your portfolio. And then it analyzes and reflects on failed attempts. And then the diagrams help visualize wacky robot ideas. So it shows like all the different, it doesn't just show exactly what we ended up with, it shows like all the different ideas, things we went through. And then engineering processes and changes over time are also shown in this page.
So a key thing we also wanted to show is that we don't go through the engineering process only once. It's sort of this cycle that repeats the diagram. And so each of these is kind of a different iteration of the engineering cycle itself. So at the very top, you have our overall idea of what we want to do. We wanted to condense our robot, and that's kind of what all these changes are about. So that's our first main goal. And you see the 2 major robot iterations that we have. For each of these, we're conceptualizing, we're designing, we're testing, we're analyzing, and we're continuing. At the very bottom, so all of the slides is just general robot ideation, iteration, how it's changed. The bottom is where we get to a specific subsystem. So we identified our intake and outtake as something that we were really proud of, and it's changed a lot. And we focus on a lot of specifics, going from like a basic polygon thing, something that's roughly designed, something that's more refined. And then we have our strategy slide. So earlier we had the strategy overview by points. This is how our strategy connects to our overall robot, and also to our code as well. Another thing I want to highlight on this slide is diagrams. So diagrams are really important, and they really can help understanding. We need to make sure that people can understand that. So if you ever do any diagrams, I really recommend you go out and find professionals, look at them, see if they can understand it without the context you have. We spent many hours talking to some of the people we connected with about this diagram up here. I went through 10 to 15 different iterations to find one that was most easy for them to understand in a quick amount of time. The very bottom is just talking about yet again strategy and code. So you want to find a way to kind of connect these 2 ideas together to multiple different points.
So this is our chassis page that it sells, and we're using a prior versus latest design format. So we're showing what it was in the past and how it's evolved and changed to become what the latest model is. It includes problems and solutions to show the why behind the changes. You don't just want to list them out, but you want to explain why these specific changes were made.
Additionally, I'm gonna double down on the diagram aspect. It's the easiest way for a judge to kind of visualize what you're talking about. So we included diagrams to show the current parts we're talking about, and we also have hand drawings and labels for, once again, the human aspect. And we're also gonna specify design and manufacturing of the parts that were especially challenging. For example, we had 2 carbon fiber side plates, which were something that we spent a lot of time kind of ideating, so that's an aspect that we include. So hand-drawn diagrams are again something that we consistently use, and a good thing about hand-drawn diagrams is the fact that they're an easy way to communicate motion, because as of right now, the portfolios have to be printed out and handed to judges. So if you want to show a very interesting, like, moving part of your robot, you have to use arrows, and the easiest way to do that would be through hand-drawn diagrams, or potentially if you have something in your CAD which demonstrates that. And we're using hand-drawn diagrams here to demonstrate exactly how our outtake system works, which is basically the easiest way we can communicate that. And also, it also shows the purpose of a certain component. For example, we have diagrams that are showing how our skyhook system works, because it works as a latch, which latched on to the rigging, and then it would pull itself up. Because we can't include videos, we have to demonstrate that using hand-drawn diagrams and arrows. Additionally, we're also using some of our CAD to demonstrate that. We use Fusion 360 for our CAD personally, and that's another way we're displaying our motion. And if you have elements that you're like interacting with, for example, we're talking about our drone in that section over there, we made it slightly translucent so you can still see the rest of the actual mechanical design underneath it. And we have our color-coded themes as well, as you can see with the yellow in design and orange in the big section. And here we're also showing performance calculations to show our growth over the season, because we want to show that we're keeping track of the performances we've noticed throughout the season, and we're also showing what we're expecting later on in the season. And we're also going to be completely honest if we mess up or if something doesn't go as well as we expected. So some things didn't happen that we expected at regionals. So we were very upfront about that.
So this is our problem solving page. It comes under the safety category. And this is mainly to show the judges like exactly how we problem solve, as the name tells them. So it allows us to discuss a variety of issues, and we are using the consistent format of the issue, why impacts the solution. So issue is just saying what is wrong. The why is giving you like specifically why that is why that's like an issue for the robot. The impact is showing you the damage or like the negative side effects of the issue, and the solutions is talking about how we're going to fix our problem. So we're showing how the team problem solved its way to get from to develop the robot and make it a better robot.
Okay, so this is a fabrication slide. So a really big thing that we emphasize is how much CAD we have on our robot, how many custom parts we have on our robot. So our fabrication slide basically tells you what we've 3D printed, what we've cut with our CNC. And we do all of this in-house, so it's a thing we emphasize. And it was initially the entire page with a lot of pictures, but we kind of had to think about what we want to prioritize, and for that it was our transfer system. So this is a deep dive into one of our most important subsystem interactions, because last year we had an outtake, we had an intake, and we wanted to really emphasize kind of how those two work together to get us a theoretically seamless pixel navigation system.
Okay, so there is an actual two full control pages. The idea here is to show getting control over time and how to use control with other subsystems. So on the other page, we talked about how we use control to change our transfer system and how that was very integrated. And here we just use, I guess, just to highlight the main points of our control board. So you always want to talk about autonomy, you always talk about sensors, why you use them, what benefits you get, how do you change them over time. And the other two are just kind of what we felt was important. So this year we did a lot of work on navigation and sort of mapping the field and allowing the robot to know where it is and change its behavior based on that. So that's something we noted up there. On the right, there's a lot of driver enhancement, making things easier, automating things, so that's what we emphasize there. So all this is just based on what you feel is the most important part of your code, and also how it connects to the other parts of your robots. And so this is our Connect page. So this season, we thought we had a lot of Connect, and so we really emphasized that. And the biggest thing is that you could always put a bunch of logos and a bunch of names. We felt it was really important to talk about what did you get from the Connect experience, right? So here we always make sure we want to include, the company, like what the person we talk to does, like what's their role in the team. Maybe we talk to someone who's in marketing for a portfolio, or someone on the code side for a code, right? So what do they do and how did that help us? A day, an idea of how many mentors were there, how many sessions, was it an all-season thing, was this a one-off thing? And then just to get how involved were you? So we use person hours for that, which is the amount of people from our team that participated times the amount of time we participate. So we have 5 people for 2 hours, that's 10 person hours. So something like DPRG, the one up there, 34 person hours, a lot more intensive than maybe Lockheed Martin. And of course, we always have bullet points just to show what exactly we got from the experience, right? So for example, here we talked about our auton and advice on adjusting our outtake system for scoring better.
And additionally, we also want to talk about our motivate section, and here you can also see some more of our connect. So one of the big things we do is we like to have taglines under like our titles, so judges kind of get a glimpse of what we're talking about. So I'm so sorry. So here you can see some of our taglines, especially when we're talking about R2V2, which was one of the main aspects of our motivate last year. So we also have a standardized table for expenses because we want to talk about our budget. We want to talk about the fact that we are thinking about how we're spending our funding, and we also want to talk about where we're getting that funding from, and also being upfront about the fact that maybe we don't have as much money as we'd like to. Maybe at some point we are in a deficit, and we want to be upfront about the fact that we are trying to solve that problem.
So this is a part of our motivate page, and this is specifically showing how we're motivating different parts of our community. So you can see the robot in 2 days. It's showing how we're communicating and motivating our online community by showing them our initial design processes. Moon Day at Frontiers of Fly, they're showing how we're in person motivating different people who come there, mentoring FLL and FTC teams, how we're interacting with other people part of the first community already and how we're motivating them too. And then schoolwork fix, how are we impacting where we go every day and learn? So impacting different parts of the community is a great thing to show and recite.
And so, yeah, while we do show all these different types of communities, it's also important to, I guess, talk about all of them that they do. So we have a nice little table up there that's nicely quantified to show the extent of each event and a nice total, so 39 teams, 1,200 individuals, 152 hours. Very specifically give to the judges how much we impact teams this year. And here's our I guess I say miscellaneous slides. We talk about all the things we do that are, special to us. So we talk about our online audience, which is really important, our blog, our YouTube channel. This graph kind of shows our viewers from around the world, kind of showing we have a global audience. We're trying to get them all on a global level. And by these two are kind of very unique to our team. We have sustainability. That's something that's really important. How is this team going to continue on? We've been a team since 2010, right? There's a lot of effort and thought we put into making sure our program continues, into developing skills for new recruits over the summer. And so that's how we talk about how we get new members in the team. And finally, tradition and culture, right? We're not just a robotics team, we're also kind of a family, right? And we have a lot of traditions, things we do. We enjoy being on. And that's how we kind of celebrate our successes and get through, our losses. So, yeah. And then kind of a big overview. For us, the biggest challenge is kind of finding out content between different awards. You always want to get as much information as you can, but sometimes it's not the best opportunity, not the best choice to do so. And as the season progresses, as your robot evolves, your portfolio also evolves as well. So we've had to make a lot of big changes, like removing the design slide, adding more content. We've also had to change, we've taken the entire slide, scrapped them, and we've done them. So it's about making sure you're adaptable and knowing, what you're strong at, but making sure you cover all bases. And like I mentioned earlier, make sure other people look at your portfolio and give feedback. You might have context that they don't. And so this is probably a really good example of what a judge who's maybe never talked to your team before, reviewing the portfolio, might think, the questions they might have, and things they want more clarification about.
So these are just a couple of fun facts about our portfolio. There are over 4,000 words in the final draft of the portfolio, 115 images, 235 total versions of our portfolio were made, 221 comments made of the slides, shows how much editing we're doing, 8 hours to plan and assemble the original CDF portfolio, and 6 shades of red tested for the team, so like how much detail we're doing and putting time into our portfolio. So any questions?
we'll start with in person. Anybody in person have any questions?
You use Google Slides or Word or Canva or what?
Yeah, we use Google Slides, it's a good balance between getting technical without that design element, like adding pictures and arrows and things like that.
Amazing. Oh, I'm sorry. What awards did you win?
Yeah, so last year, we won Inspire 2, I think, at regionals, and we won Inspire 3 at the area championship. At state, we didn't unfortunately win, probably, we had some struggles there, but the year before we did win Think at state and Advanced Worlds.
But Inspire required think, design, control, blah, 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 everything that you did. Awesome.
How do you guys meet up? Is it like a hybrid post?
Yeah, so at least for portfolio, it's a really big mix of it. We have weekly meetings and it's really good to be able to be in the same space as people working on the portfolio, get to be able to talk. But this is also a lot of offline work, like hard, having a strong communication channel is pretty important, and we use Discord for that.
When do y'all start on making the portfolio?
So we start on making the portfolio literally the second we start doing any motivate or the second we start any like actual new steps forward. So we've already made another version of the portfolio, like literally a copy of this one, and then we did some motivate this summer, so we've already included that aspect. And then when we get the season reveal and do our RITD, we'll add that. So we just kind of start building our portfolio whenever we can, so we don't have like a week-long rush to keep doing this.
Okay, I think if we don't have any more in-person questions, you guys can like respond to any chat questions that were online by joining the Zoom. So everybody give a round of applause for 6H.